Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today we have the latest episode of Real Talk for Lightworkers, where we're going to be talking about, again, why you're not going to heal, you're going to integrate. All right, so now, before we get started, I want to say that I'm wearing my power shirt today. So anytime you see me wearing this shirt, you know that I have something like really serious I want to talk to you guys about. So I'm wearing my power shirt. I'm like even wearing lip gloss because I'm just, I really want to deliver something that's hopefully very impactful for you guys today. And this topic of healing / integrating / all the things that we're going to talk about today have just been so confused, and there's so much out there, and there's so much that we're going through inside of ourselves that make this whole topic of healing and integration and the self-sabotaging behaviors and the things that are wrong with us and all this seem very confusing and conflicting. And so I'm really hoping to bring clarity today. And so I'm very serious and I'm very much here. Okay, so now the second thing that I want to talk about before we even get started is I'm going to give you the definition of heal, because what you're going to say when you hear about my definition of integrate and what I'm talking about when I'm really meaning integration and why we want to integrate rather than heal and all this stuff, you're going to be like, no, that's definitely healing. You're definitely talking about healing. That was the definition of healing. And I'm going to say, absolutely, I agree with you. Okay? So, right, to get us started, the definition of heal is to become sound or healthy again, or to alleviate a person's distress or anguish is of a person or treatment cause, a wound, injury, or person to become sound or healthy again. So technically speaking, everything that I'm going to talk about today in this video fits under the category of healing, yes. But the reason I'm choosing to use the word integrate rather than heal is not because of the definition of healing, is because of what most people think of when they hear the word heal and the associations that we have as a society with the word heal, which generally speaking, and if this doesn't apply to you, then hey, feel free to use the word heal instead of integrate. But if you're like most people, you're going to have an association with the word heal as to mean something that is fundamentally wrong, that needs to change so that good things can be. All right? That there's something fundamentally broken, something fundamentally wrong, something fundamental about you that has to change in order for you to become happy, healthy, whatever these things. That you're fundamentally messed up and we're rectifying your fundamental nature. What I'm saying is, it is your fundamental nature that is completely correct. It is simply the fact that we have navigated away from your fundamental nature that has caused all the pain. So rather than thinking about fixing something that's fundamentally broken, that from the core is not good, fixing something that was never right? Instead of thinking of that, we're thinking of putting things back together. Something that was fundamentally already perfect, right? That has been fragmented, we're putting it back together. So this is what I'm talking about when I say integrate. We're putting the pieces of you back together. We're not changing the fundamental nature of who you are. We're putting your fundamental nature that has been fragmented back together so that it can grow and expand from its roots of perfection. All right, so I know that sounds paradoxical. How can something that's perfect grow and expand? And this, again, is a paradox of life. This is what life is. So now let's get into this. So when we're looking at ourselves and we're looking at our self-sabotaging behaviors, we're looking at the parts of ourselves that are our saboteurs. We're looking at the parts of ourselves that have negative emotion or pain or shame or guilt so a negative emotion. Any of these parts of ourselves that act out or express in a way that cause us pain is usually why we get to a spiritual path at all, or why we do any self-improvement, it's a motivating factor for pretty much everything that humans do in life right now today, is we're trying on some level, whether it's in the spiritual world all the way to the most secular thing you can think of. Prostitution, right? Hiring a prostitute, doing drugs, watching copious amounts of TV, to meditating all the time and going to the retreats and all this stuff. It's all rooted in the same thing. I'm in pain and I want something to alleviate my pain, right? If we really just boil everything down to that, that's what it is. Whether you're doing the most seemingly spiritual thing or the most seemingly secular thing, you're going to start to see that it's all rooted in the same thing. I'm in pain and I don't want to be in pain anymore. I want something to take my pain away. And now, and again, right? If we're high functioning, we're usually thinking the pain is my fault. There's something wrong with me. It's I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm messed up. Look at all these things that I do that are wrong and bad that I need to fix before I can be out of pain. Or if we're lower functioning, we're like, the world messed me up. I'm a victim. All these things happened to me, and now I need to take things from other people or numb myself out or distract myself in some way to make the pain go away. But it's all still the same thing. There's something fundamentally broken about either what happened to me or me as a person. And look at all these shitty things that I'm doing or these shitty things that are happening to me. And if I'm high functioning, I'm going to be trying to deal with myself, to fix myself so that the shitty pain stops happening. Or I'm going to start to deal with the reality, right? Trying to fix my reality, trying to fix my job, trying to fix my relationships, trying to fix my body, trying to fix all these things. Or like I say, I'm going to take drugs, I'm going to drink, I'm going to eat to excess, I'm going to have risky sex, I'm going to do all these crazy traveling maybe, whatever we're thinking we're doing, right? It's all coming from I'm in pain, there's something fundamentally wrong about my life or me, and I need to fix it. And this is where most of us are coming from, okay? Now, I want to give us a deeper explanation of why this pain is happening, and I've said it a million other times, but let's say it again in a totally different way maybe, so that we can better understand why it is integration that is the answer to all of this pain. That the spiritual people and the secular people, and this is the other thing too, is like most of us are going to identify with both of these categories. We're sort of trying to fix ourselves, and we're sort of trying to fix our life. We're sort of trying to take responsibility, and we're using things on the external world to numb and stimulate ourselves. Because again, this is how we have been trained to be in the society, because we're not actually dealing with the root cause, and there's only so many things we can do when we're in pain that aren't deal with the root cause. Okay, there's only so many probabilities, there's only so many possibilities of things we can do with our pain that is not actually dealing with the pain, right? And most of us have engaged in all of them. We've tried to fix ourselves, we've tried to fix our reality, we've tried to take responsibility, we've tried to numb out, we've tried to stimulate, we've gotten into things that have nothing to do with us, right? We're all doing all of these things. We're going to all identify with all of these things. And we call these things our self-sabotaging behaviors or our addictions or our negative emotion causing things, or right, the negative things that are happening to us. We call these things the negative people in our lives. We call these things our sabotaging things that other people are sabotaging us, we're sabotaging us. It's all the same. Yeah? And so let's look at the root of this, okay? The actual root cause, because like I say, there's only so many chaos patterns. That's basically what I'm saying. There's only so many places we can go from fragmentation and continuing on down the road of fragmentation, okay? And so that's all that. Everything that we're doing to try and fix our pain in the modern world is essentially a further fragmentation from the original fragmentation, right? We're literally trying to solve the problem with the same thing that caused the problem, okay? So the very root cause of our pain is this. You are life. Life wants to live. The one and only characteristic that life needs to possess is learning, growing, changing, expanding, and evolving. Okay? That's the foundation for all of human life. We want to learn, we want to grow, we want to expand, we want to have experiences, we want to become ourselves. Usually I can suck those back in. We want to become ourselves. We want to, and we want to learn more. We want to expand. That is really the fundamental thing that we want as human beings, okay? In order for growth, learning, expansion, and change to happen, there needs to be an input of information. We need more energy, more awareness, more information, more bringing of the pieces of reality together in order for this to happen. All right? There needs to be more information, an addition to, a receiving. Yes? We receive, we grow. We receive, we grow. We receive, we grow. And this is, again, these are the foundations of life itself. The addition of energy, attention, awareness, information allows for the growth, the change, the expansion, the evolution that is fundamental to life. Right? When life is not learning, growing, changing, expanding, it is dying. The one thing that feels terrible to something that is a part of life is death. The one thing that feels amazing to something that is a part of life is growth, is life. Okay? So this is our foundation. Now, when we're babies, okay, we come into this world. We are, in order to live, in order to grow, in order to expand, in order to take in more information. Yes? Because that's what a baby is doing. To become a child, and then a teenager, and then an adult. They take in more information. They take in more nourishment. So information is literally everything. So let's just talk about what information is for a second. Information is energy in all of its forms. Okay? So that can be observing how reality works. That can be eating food. That can be interacting with somebody. Literally every experience we have, technically speaking, is information. Anything that we do in life is information. If we allow ourselves to receive from the reality we're experiencing, we're taking something in at all times, okay? And so again, this doesn't mean reading books. This doesn't necessarily mean meditating. This doesn't mean anything. It's literally just so long as we're in a state where everything that comes into our awareness, or, right, literally anything that comes into our awareness, our conscious awareness, we're taking it in and we're learning from it. We're on the life-generating path. That's it. We're taking in more information. Whatever happens to us, we're not judging it as wrong and bad. Right? So we're going to get into this. We're saying, yeah, no, this should be happening. This is a part of reality. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to put that piece of the reality puzzle in with the other pieces that I have, expand my view of reality, and become more conscious within it, and therefore a greater creator, right? So this is life as we keep going. Is the more we learn about life, the more information we take in, the more pieces of the puzzle we put together, the more we can be ourselves, express ourselves within the reality, the more creative we can become, right? Life wants to create. It wants to, right, be the next iteration of itself. It's conscious expansion. Yes? So the more we learn through our relativeness, yeah, about how the reality works, the more our relativeness can express something new. This is life. Okay? So we're born as babies, and we are dependent upon our parents to provide that information for us, right? So to provide food, to provide cuddles and touch, because that's information, right? It helps us become aware of our bodies. It's information we all need, because when we were babies, we were literally like, we don't know anything about being human. We don't know about our bodies. We don't know about eating. We don't know about any of the fundamentals for staying alive, let alone the creative stuff. Yeah? We're all spirit, but we've never done we have no recollection of the human thing. So we're reliant upon our parents to teach us the human stuff. Yeah? To teach us the eating, the sleeping, the changing the diaper, the moving the body awareness, that you're different from me. That's all the stuff. And then we grow and learn and evolve from there, right? So we're dependent upon our parents for information. All right? We're dependent upon our caregivers for information. And so right there as a baby, yeah, this connection between being approved of by other people, gathering information so I can keep living, becomes one thing. Yes? We know that when a baby is not loved, when a parent or a caregiver of a child doesn't love that child because the child is so needy and asking the caregiver to give so much, yes? If there is not love there, if there's not appreciation, if there's not adoration, if there's not genuine concern and care for the well-being of this child, the child is going to be neglected. They're not going to get their needs met. And in that, they're not going to get the information they need to thrive. Yes? So as little children, being dependent upon parents, we experience our first trauma, which is that being loved and accepted by the people that exist in my reality is akin to my survival, because I need them for this basic information. This food, the water, the care, the love, the shelter, the nourishment, the nurturing, the cleaning. I need them for all these bodily functions that I have no control over. I have no capacity to do myself. They need to approve of me to take care of these things so that I can learn and grow and become informed enough to take care of these things myself. But I need them for this period of time. So if they were to reject me for some reason, I die. So this is our first introduction to separation consciousness. Really, this is what this is, okay? We start to, right, as we grow and as we learn and as we evolve, what's going to happen at some point along our childhood is we're going to do something that's going to get us rejected by our caregivers, by the people that we are dependent upon for the information, the love, the nurturing, the support, the cleaning, whatever that is, for the information that is allowing us to keep evolving, learning, growing, expanding, living. Okay? There's going to come a point where we do something, we are something, we say something, whatever it is, that gets us cut off from that love. Now, generally speaking, this can mean that an actual need that we have gets neglected. And in those cases, right, if we're not fed, if we're not carried, if we're sent to our room, if these things happen, right, an actual need that the child has at the time doesn't get met, right, that's really deep trauma, okay? That's the like, oh my God, there's something that I need to live that I cannot provide for myself. I'm dependent upon this person outside of me for providing it. I did something they didn't like and they took it away. Okay? Separation consciousness, right there. I am separate from the source of life. Right? It's my mother or my father, my caretaker. That is the source of life. And they can take it away. I am not in and of myself connected to source, to the source of life, whatever it is that's feeding them, the information that they have. They can take it away from me if they decide they don't like me. Okay? Or, like I say, it doesn't even need to be that the need didn't get met. So this is another thing. So, right? So people who feel separation, but say, you know, my childhood was fine. I always had my needs met. My parents always fed me. They always loved me. They always nurtured me or whatever. But if you at all sensed, right, that love and approval that they had of you was being taken away, there was the risk, because it was so tied in your mind, physical needs and all these things being met is one and the same with being loved and accepted, right? So in your mind, so even if that love just got taken away, that approval got taken away, but the physical needs didn't, there's still such a tangling in your mind of these two things are synonymous, they're one and the same, that the threat of that love going away is enough to cause a trauma. Yes? Okay. So what happens is we have this trauma of something we are, something that we expressed, something we did, something we didn't do, whatever this is, made our parents reject us. And that is when we decide, okay, in order to keep getting love, I need to change who I am fundamentally, right? And we do this, again, because we want love, because we want to keep growing, learning, changing, evolving, expanding. We want to keep living. That love and acceptance is synonymous with being able to stay alive for us as children. Okay, so this is what we need to really get in our minds. Acceptance from the outside world and staying alive as a baby are synonymous. These two things are one and the same. Acceptance, survival, same. We experience that. It's not a tribal thing that only happened in the past. It's a thing that literally happens to every single one of us in our childhood at some point. All right? So we have this root trauma of separation, okay? That if my caregivers don't love me, I am cut off from that which allows me to keep living. And then what we're going to do is we're going to decide, okay, whatever it was in me that caused that rejection from my parents, I am now going to reject. I'm going to fight. I'm going to try and get rid of it. I'm going to do whatever it takes so that I'm not that anymore. Because to be that is to be cut off from love, is to die. Okay? This is our main wound. We were children who were vulnerable. We needed our caretakers to take care of us so that we could continue to live, and their taking care of us was dependent upon their approval of us. All right? So this is the main separation wound we are all walking around with. We were not children who understood how to care for ourselves, how to be connected to source energy ourselves, which again is really just another word for that which we need to continue to learn, grow, change, evolve, and expand. It doesn't mean God. It doesn't have to mean any of these things. It's literally just the connection to the reality where we can make the choice to keep learning, growing, changing, evolving, and expanding on our own. All right? So because of this root trauma, most of us have grown up now as adults not being adults. We are all overgrown children treating each other, right? The rest of the world like mommy and daddy. We are all looking for external love, external approval, the aggregate to agree with us, for all of us to agree on what reality is, which is for all of us to agree on what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, how do I behave, what are the rules, you see what I'm saying here? So that I can get that love and approval, so that I can continue to live. So this whole big, all this very far away from truth, right? So the real truth is, reality is how it is. It has a structure, it has a function, this is what it is. The closer we live in alignment to how the reality functions, the more essentially information we have available to us. Because the more we're accepting, right, we're open to how the reality functions. That is what being in a state of receptivity is. We are receiving the information around us. Acceptance simply means I am willing to take in the information from the reality that enables me to learn, grow, change, and evolve, and expand. All that death is, all that rejection is, all that resistance is saying whatever's happening shouldn't be happening. It's not part of reality. This is wrong. And when we do that, we cannot learn from it, and therefore we're cutting ourselves off from information, which means we can't learn, grow, change, evolve, and expand, and therefore we must start to devolve. So we die. We die a little every time we judge the reality as wrong. Every time we resist something that's happening, we die a little because we're cutting ourselves off from information, and information is the source of life. Because information is the source of growth, change, evolution, and expansion, and therefore creativity. So, right, if we're cutting ourselves off from information, we're dying. That's really as simple as it is. If we're cutting ourselves off from information about how the reality works, we're going to work against it. And therefore, we're cutting ourselves off again from the power supply. Because to be in alignment with reality is simply to say, I'm going with the power source. I'm plugged in. I'm not resisting the information that keeps me alive. That's all we're doing when we're in a state of judgment or rejection or all of these things. Okay? So that's that. And then because we've gotten so far away now, right? Okay, so let's think about it again, right? There's how reality functions, which is really just, we're supposed to just continue to learn about it. Take in more information. It's not about completely understanding it and being perfect and at the pinnacle of awareness. It's just about saying, as long as I'm continuing to increase my awareness of how the reality works, continuing to increase my own order, structure, complexity, and therefore becoming more and more creative within the thing, more and more expressive of who I am, that's what life is. Take in more information about the structure that already exists, create within it something new and different. That's evolution, growth, and expansion. That's life. But when we reject reality, so when we reject a part of ourselves, you see how this ties in? As children, we rejected a part of ourselves because that is what got us cut off from love from other people. We have now fragmented ourselves from reality. We've now cut ourselves off from information. Okay? So again, this is going to lead you to why all the mystics say the source of heaven is within. You are the source. It is all within you. This is the true fact. Okay? Because you are having a relative experience, the biggest thing you're here to learn is through your own perception. You are to learn about the reality through your perception, through your experience, through everything that happens to you. This is your point of taking in information. This is your point of attraction, if we want to look at it that way, is just who you are and what you are experiencing is your point of attraction, your point of information you wanted to take in so that you can express as this iteration on consciousness. You being an individual within the universal reality, okay? You are attracting the information that is relative and relevant for your individual experience, your specific piece of consciousness, to learn, grow, and expand and become the next iteration of consciousness, the next expansion, the next thing that's never happened before, the uniqueness that you are that only you can be, okay? And you take in information via your experiences. It's not about what's happening to everybody else. What's happening to everybody else can be a part of your experience, see? So it's not one or the other. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is what you're going through, what you're experiencing, what you're seeing, what you're learning from what you're going through. That is your point of attraction. So this is why you're not really in control of your point of attraction, because what you came here to learn, grow, change, evolve, and expand into is set. That's who you are. That's what you wanted. So everything that's coming into your reality is trying to give you the ability to become that. So you're not attracting negative experiences because you're thinking negatively. You're attracting negative experiences because those experiences have information for you that you need to become the person that you fundamentally came here to grow, evolve, expand, and change into. Yes, your life has a purpose, and that's what it is. To be the creative iteration of consciousness itself that only you can represent based on your singularity experience. Okay? So we have that. That's what alignment with life is. I am a part of this that's relative, a part of the universal that is not relative, that is just what everything else is. I'm taking in information and I'm using that information, the universal information and the relative information, to create something that only I can create, and therefore I am the expansion of consciousness. I am life evolving. That is what you are. But what happens is we're that, and then something like this happens, a parent rejects us, and because acceptance from outside and staying alive so I can continue on down this purpose, this path of being the unique thing that I am through taking in all the things that I'm here to take in, if that gets cut off, if I can't live, I can't do that. And that's why I don't want to die, right? So now I'm like afraid that I'm going to die if I do the path that is leading to life. I'm afraid I'm going to die if I keep being myself. So what do? I reject myself. I reject an aspect of myself. I fragment it. And this is what creates shadow. This is what shadow is. It's the part of ourselves that we learned, this is not good about me, I can't be this. So we cut that off. And what we need to understand is that everything within us, every aspect within us, because we live in this dualistic reality, which isn't truly dualistic, right? It's just that anytime we take a whole and we cut a piece off of it, there's going to be another piece. Okay, so this is where we get into the integration part, right? So whatever aspect of yourself you've rejected, okay, that's now cut off from information. That's cut off from the rest of you. Okay, so we understand this, right? To be plugged in, plugged into life, let's think about this again, right? Is to be plugged into the universal, right? So a part of the whole, and also to be plugged into the relative, who I am, what I am here to experience. We are uniting these two perspectives to create the next iteration of you, okay? So this is why this world seems dualistic, because it's both. You are both at once the ultimate, all of it. You are the universal, and you are the relative. And what we really mean by that is the universal principles and laws apply to you. You are plugged into all source. You have access to all the energy of everything within your relative experience. There is parts of you that are just about you. You are a part of the reality. You represent a part of the reality that only you represent. So this is why we say, right, that there are some universal laws that apply to all of us, and there are some relative laws that only apply to one of us at a time. Yes? Because it's both, okay? So we have this universal perspective, we have this relative perspective that come together to create the next expansion of consciousness. The two things put together, the marriage, the third thing, is consciousness expanded. It's you being what has never been before. Yes? United with all that is, expanding into something that has never been before. The singularity that you are is the next expansion of consciousness. Now, when we reject an aspect of ourselves, right? So we cut it off from the whole. So that's already cutting it off from information. And we cut it off from love and acceptance in the relative. So it's cut off double. So what do we know about something that's cut off from information? It becomes less intelligent. And anything that is less intelligent is going to behave in a less intelligent way. It's going to be chaotic rather than structured. It's going to be messy rather than ordered. It's going to cause disorder, dis-ease, rather than order and ease and creativity and expansion. Okay? So we reject an aspect of the self, and then we're going to usually overemphasize, yes, the mirror image of it. The other part of itself that got split off. So this is why we're saying we're literally like taking these bits, this wholeness of ourselves, these aspects of ourselves that are a united front, two halves working together to create a whole, the universal and the relative coming together. We split them apart, and then they both start to act as shadow because they're separated from their counterpart. They're cut off from the whole. They're cut off from each other, and then they have to act as shadow. So let me give you an example from my own life, right? I had anorexia. So this is an expression of tight control, right? Rigidity and strength and determination, and this is what this was. Okay, so I thought my problem was I have an eating disorder, I'm anorexic, right? So I worked for all these years to try and fix that. It never worked. Couldn't fix it. So then I just decided to accept it, right? I started to try the self-love thing, accepting myself. What if this isn't a broken part of me? What if anorexia isn't bad? What if it's trying to help me? What if it's trying to... So what can anorexia trying to help me do? Okay, anorexia is trying to help me have control. Anorexia is trying to help me survive. Okay, so now I've done all this work over all these years. And for a while, right, I got rid of the anorexia food stuff. Yeah, I was healthy. I've been healthy for a while. But I still had essentially what were anorexic tendencies just in other areas of life. So like a tight control of my circumstances and a schedule during the day and not being able to go with the flow and fear of tiredness. And so I started to become this person that was like very anal. Yeah, I never let myself rest. I was constantly trying to be there for everyone at all times, never have a down moment, never show weakness, never show vulnerability, always look like I'm on top of it, always be on top of it, right? I was just like obsessed with taking care of myself, being on top of it, being responsible, being out ahead of everything. And at the same time, providing for everyone, always seeing what the needs were of the people around me and to do that. And so I didn't have the eating disorder stuff anymore, but I was controlling my environment in this way now, yeah? Of just be on top of everything. So I was like constantly anxious. I don't think I slept for like years because I was just so high strung, okay? And so, but this part of me that was trying to be so in control would also come out quite mean a lot of the time. And I was very impatient and I was very hard and strict on myself and the people around me. I had very high expectations and just very dictatorial and very dogmatic in a lot of ways, and just like I say, it was control, but not functional control. It was dysfunctional control. And so then again, I started to love this part of myself. I'm like, okay, so this tyrant, essentially, right? Like this person who just, the military person, that's what I was like. It was just like, I treated my life like a military. And like my perfectionism and my routine and my getting better and being stronger and being more aware and just, it was coming out, it was sort of okay, but it was still coming out of shadow. And so I started to love this part of myself. And what I started to realize was this part of myself that I was representing, okay, the shadowed control, the shadowed rigidity, was a mirror image, right, the other side of the coin, of the real aspect of myself that I rejected, which was when I was a child, I was sick, I was weak, I was needy. And that was the behavior, that was the part about me that got me rejected by my caregivers and my friends and the people around me. I couldn't self-soothe. I was sick. I couldn't take care of myself. I was extra needy, okay? I was weak. And it was this that got me rejected, okay? So that was the aspect of myself that I said, if I'm weak, if I'm needy, if I'm not able to provide, if I'm needing to be provided for, I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to get cut off from love. I'm going to die. So I have to get rid of this part of myself. And basically, this decision happened for me like in grade 8, I remember. Just saying, I refuse to be this sensitive, weak victim person anymore. And that was like, an empowered step in a way. But because I was rejecting the part of myself, okay, so again, and we'll go into this, that I perceived to be my weakness. I said, no more weakness, okay? And from that moment forward, I just, like I say, I never let myself off the hook. I worked really, really hard. I never let myself rest. I never gave myself a break. I could never take a moment for myself. Even when I was sick, like I would get sick and just be sick for months because I would never rest. I could never let myself just rest. I hated birthdays. I hated all these things. I never wanted anyone to love me. I never wanted anyone to touch me. I never wanted anyone to give anything to me. I couldn't receive a compliment. I couldn't receive a gift. It was all just about never show weakness. Never need anything. Always be the one who's providing. Yes? And so this created two shadowed aspects of myself, right? Both of these things, this tight, rigid control was the me that was saying, okay, if I'm going to reject the part of me that needs rest, that needs to receive, that needs nourishment, that needs love from outside of myself, that I perceive now as weakness, I'm going to overemphasize the strength part of myself that can provide for me and that can provide for others and that can have order, structure, and not be a victim. So I just overemphasized this part, underemphasized this part, and both were shadowed. Okay? So I couldn't rest. I was overly dogmatic, overly strict, overly crazy. And this was the root cause of it all. That I had rejected this part of myself that just needs love and rest and comfort and nourishment and can receive, right? I took that part of myself that needs to receive and I rejected it. And so that created this other shadow. So what this means is this part of myself that was anorexic, this part of myself that was mean, this part of myself that was militant, this part of myself that could never rest, there was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't bad. It didn't need healing or fixing. It wasn't a bad part of me. None of these things were self-sabotaging behaviors, which they would have looked like from the outside. Yeah? Never being able to rest, always needing to save everybody, always needing to be on top of everything, being in such strict control. All of these things can look like self-sabotage, right? The eating disorder definitely looked like self-sabotage, but it wasn't. It was what I thought I had to do to be loved in the society that I thought, right? This aggregate that said, when you're weak, you're rejected. So in order to be loved, I thought in order to live, I have to never be weak. I have to never let my guard down. I have to always be fighting, always be striving, always be working harder. And this was what got me in trouble, okay? So the real truth of it was, first things first, I had to recognize that just like everyone else in the world, number one trauma was that I could get cut off from love. That if someone rejects me If someone doesn't love me, if my caregivers, the rule, if I don't follow the rules and I therefore get rejected, that I'm then cut off from that which sustains my life. And that was the false reality that started this whole thing, right? If I am who I am, I'm going to get cut off from love because people are going to reject me. That was the foundational thing, that I am not my own source, that I can't get it myself, that I need something and someone outside of me to give me what is required for life. And so what we need to recognize is that this is true when we're babies, okay? And this is our main trauma, but this is not true when we're adults. So if we're really going to become truly awake, aware, evolved, no longer in our traumas adults, we need to integrate the parts of ourselves that were rejected and the parts of ourselves that were overemphasized but cut off from this other part. So both had to operate in lower intelligence and therefore caused chaos rather than order. So any dis-ease we have in our life, any self-sabotage, anything that we're doing that's not allowing us to become more ordered, complex, structured, more feeling that we are our own source of love, that even if the whole world rejects us, it's okay, because we can learn from reality. We can take in information. We can never be cut off from that which sustains our life, which is just information, because we're adults now who just get to choose whether we're taking something in or taking something out. We need to get to this place. So it's about understanding, right? That so long as we're operating from this idea that external love equals life, we're going to have to reject ourselves. And it is in that self-rejection that we cut ourselves off from the very love we're looking for, the very survival we're looking for, by trying to be in the aggregate, by trying to do what it is we think everyone around us wants us to do so that they will give us love. We need to understand that it is the acceptance, approval of other people that is the false love. Like, think of it this way, right? False love meaning it's less intelligent. It's literally like love once removed. Think of it like that. It's information once removed. We're not plugged into the actual source. We're plugging ourselves into something that is once removed, weaker, less of what it truly is, not enough to sustain life. So let's think of it like this, okay? It is truly the reality that provides you with enough energy to live. The you being connected through your own self to love, to information, to reality, to anything that's happening to you. It's you being connected through yourself, understanding that no one and nothing doing whatever they're going to do can cut you off from your capacity to accept love, nourishment, information from the reality that is enough to sustain you. Anything less than that is not enough to sustain you. This is why food is never going to do it. Relationships is never going to do it. Success is never going to do it. Nothing in the world that is what we deem or consider good or valuable or acceptable or good enough, right? Worthy of love. Nothing from anybody else is ever going to be enough for you, because the only thing that's enough for you is source. Reality itself. The source of love itself. Your own connection from within to everything. If it's coming through someone or something else, the approval of someone else, at its best, it is love once removed. It's not enough for you. And at its worst, it's volatile. It can be cut off. Okay? And then understanding that in the act of abandoning yourself for the approval of outside of you, you fragment yourself and you make yourself less able to receive love from source. Okay? So think of it like that, right? It is your vessel, you being who you are, is the receptacle for reality and love itself. The more fragmented you are, think of yourself like a vessel with holes in it. The more things you're rejecting, you're cutting off pieces of the vessel, it makes it holy. It gives it cracks, so you can't hold it. You see what I'm saying? You're less able to hold and store and be connected to the actual source of life, which is reality itself. So you cut yourself off, and so you can sort of get love from other vessels. But again, that's love once removed. It's recycled, and it's a wastage of energy. It's not enough, and so you die. We continue to cut ourselves off and cut ourselves off and cut ourselves off and try and fix ourselves and reject this part and overemphasize this part and try and fix this and all this. And we're running around like crazy people, constantly trying to get everyone around us to approve of us. And it's never going to work because everyone around you is doing the same thing. They don't have enough love to give you because they don't have it either. There's no amount of acceptance from anyone in the world that's going to be enough for you because you need the source, and everyone else is a fragmented version of the source. Okay? So this is what we need to understand. It is through our own being the fragment. It's completing the fragment that we are, bringing all the pieces that we are together that connects us to the whole. That's what this is. So we take the aspect that was rejected. We take the aspect that was overemphasized. And we love both of them. We give them both attention. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? What do you mean? What do you mean? How are you a part of God? How are you a part of God? How are you a part of me? How are you a part of me? How can I start to give you the love and acceptance that my parents or my caregivers didn't? This is where we start, with all of ourselves, every aspect of us that we don't like, every aspect of us that we do like but that is shadowed, right? All of this mess that we've created for ourselves, all of the self-sabotaging behaviors, it's all you, and it's all God. It's just cut off from information and cut off from its counterpart. So what we're doing is we're uniting these parts of ourselves back together, right? So I brought this weak part of myself back together with this overly strong part of myself and realized these two things together is me as an adult. It's me who knows how to rest. It's me who knows how to receive. It's me who knows how to be connected and nourish and be nurtured. And at the same time, it's the me that knows how to not be a victim, how to stand for myself, how to do things for myself, how to learn for myself, how to receive information for myself. And we're going to notice, right, the theme here, it's always going to be a union of a masculine and a feminine part of yourself. All of us are either overly masculine, which is the fragmented, right? The masculine without the feminine is the disempowered masculine. The feminine without the masculine is the disempowered feminine. And these two disempowered things are either the victor or the victim. Okay, so we see how this fragmentation continues on with this fragmentation. We have the masculine and the feminine parts of ourselves that got split, and then they're acting as victor and victim. Yeah? So I was always the victor. But that made me victimize. Yeah? My masculine nature that was cut off from my feminine nature was always in the victor, which made me a victimizer. So as I integrate the part of myself that was victimized, right? The victim with the victor inside myself. Bring these two things together. The victor could empower my victim could empower my victor. They come together, and then I no longer need the world to approve of me, to be okay. And so this is the big fundamental thing. We integrate the aspects of ourselves that we have rejected in order to get external approval. And we start to take the risk of letting go of that external approval in exchange for finding that internal approval. The kingdom of heaven is within. You are the source. You stop looking to everyone around you to be your source. And you realize you have to plug in yourself. The only thing that's going to be enough, the only plug that's enough for you is you plugged into Source itself. And what that means is you accepting who you are. That's what this means. To be plugged into Source, to be your highest self, to be learning, growing, changing, evolving, expanding, to be a part of life, to be on a life cycle, it's very simple. It's just self-acceptance. Bringing these fragmented parts of yourself back together. Seeing where you've rejected this aspect, overemphasized this aspect. Everything that you hate about yourself, everything you don't like about yourself, everything you've rejected about yourself, all of it needs to be loved. Seen for how it really is. Brought into the light of consciousness. That's all this means. We bring it into the light of consciousness. We're no longer not looking at it, cutting it off from information. We let the information come. We bring the information to it. We allow the information to come to us. Yes? And in that, we learn, we grow, we change, we evolve, and expand. We're on life. Okay? So this is where this all boils down to. We need to take the risk of letting go of external approval because we understand that external approval is never going to do it. It's energy once removed. It's lower voltage. Just you have to think of it that way. And at the same time, you doing what you need to do to get that love means you're causing holes to be created in your vessel, which means you can hold less and less energy. Right? And every time you do it, it necessitates that you do it again. It's a spiral. We don't just reject one part and then that's it. So that's why I'm saying here, again, if we look at this and think, well, this is very confusing. I don't know what these two parts of myself are because my self-sabotaging behavior is shitty relationships or overspending or eating disorder or drinking or drugs. I don't see how these are two parts. Yeah, because the fragmentation kept happening, right? Now we're at this place where most of us are in numbing and distraction, right? So there's reality, separation from reality, pain, numb, and distraction. That's what we do, right? So the pain is letting us know where we've rejected ourselves, where we've cut ourselves off from information, where we've cut ourselves off from life. And then rather than saying, okay, well, this is painful, I'm going to go backwards, right? Oh, don't do that. Don't reject myself. Keep myself together. We rejected ourselves, and then now we're fragmenting it even further. We're just continuing to fragment. So, right, by the time we're in eating disorder, by the time we're in dis-ease, by the time we're in any of these places, we've fragmented very far away from the root to things, okay? So this is why this takes an investigation. This is why we start at whatever the thing we hate about ourselves the most, our most destructive behavior that we don't understand at all, that we think is just the worst thing about us. We start to say, no, you're helping me. You're a fragmented fragment. And it's going to take some time before I really get down to this root of where this really was. Because like I say, I started with anorexia, and it came down to vulnerability and wanting to be strong, but having that self-empowerment come through shadow via rejecting what I thought was my weakness, when instead it was truly just the part of myself that wanted to learn, grow, change, evolve, and expand that I rejected. Yeah? And I became, right? So that was a faraway thing. So how we do this, the Emotional Mastery Series, we learn to love these parts of ourselves. Why I keep saying there's nothing wrong with you. There's no bad part of you. There's no part of you that you need to get rid of. There's no part of you that needs to be rejected, because it is in the rejecting any part of yourself that you're keeping yourself in the position you're in. Okay, so we have to get fucking serious about this. There is no more room for self-improvement coming from the place of there's something fundamentally wrong with me. We need to understand the person I want to become is the person I naturally am when I'm all put back together. This is not about developing that in myself. This is about saying, where am I fragmented so that I can't operate in that level of intelligence? The person we want to become is the united part of ourselves. We're more intelligent, more capable, more creative, more expansive, more in alignment with life generation, which requires intelligence, because we are unified. The two parts of the self are operating together, and therefore they're smarter. More information. My vessel has less holes, so I can hold more information. That's who that is. That's what that is. That's why you're already your higher self. You have all the pieces. You just have to put them together. And this is why there is no more room in the spiritual world if you're truly saying you're on this. to reject anything. We can't. We can't say we're going to fix anything. We can't say we're going to heal the thing that's broken. We're not. We're saying, this is a part of me that's simply acting within less intelligence. It's been cut off. If it's hurting me, if it's causing harm on any level, it's cut off. So we have to say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to bring intelligence to it. I'm not going to play this game of rejecting this part of myself or trying to get rid of it or trying to fix it. I'm going to learn about it. I'm going to sit with it honestly. Thank you for being here. You're trying to help me. It's literally these parts of ourselves that are in the death cycle are trying to help you, right? My anorexia was trying to help me stay alive. That's the thing. It's like with its low intelligence, it was doing it that way. But its intention was to keep me alive. It was to fight. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't wrong. So when I brought that part of myself into the light, I was like, oh, you're the part that's trying to keep me alive. You're not trying to kill me. You're in this death thing of rejection. And that's what's causing me to die. The anorexia was trying to keep me alive. So then I accept that part of myself, which means I'm a little bit more accepted. You see? A little bit less fragmented then. One less part of myself being rejected. I'm a little bit more integrated. And so then I can start to live a little bit more. And then the next little parts of myself that I was hating and rejecting, I can start to love them. And then I'm a little bit more integrated. So you see, we were rejected by parents, but now as adults, it is us learning to accept ourselves that plugs us back into source. This is the key. It's not in anyone else's hands anymore. You are now your source. So if you're not feeling it, if you're in self-degradation, if you're in self-judgment, if you're having pain in any area of your life, it's because you have cut yourself off from the information you need to live. And this may mean changing your reality a lot, right? Rejecting the society, right? The more you accept yourself and who you truly are, there's going to be more and more. I can't live like this. I can't keep going to these things. I can't keep doing this stuff. I can't keep participating in the things that everyone else is. I can't keep doing that which is socially acceptable. It's going to be a trade-off. So we need to understand this. Yeah? We start to let go of consensus reality. What everyone else says is good, that gets me love. For what I understand to be what is truly good. And what actually gets me love, which is being connected to God, being connected to source myself, which means I'm coming back together, becoming less and less harmful. Like everything we talked about in the last Real Talk for Lightworkers episode. We become less harmful, more in alignment with life, less in alignment with aggregate, less in alignment with the world that says we have to reject aspects of ourselves. That's what this is going to be. So we love it and love it and love it. We integrate, integrate, integrate. We become brave enough to love the parts of ourselves we were told we had to reject in order to be worthy of love. And we say, no, there's no criteria for love. There's no criteria for being worthy of love. I am love. This is what you're going to discover. Okay, but I want you to discover it for yourself. The more you integrate, the more you love the parts of yourself that you have been told that you have to reject in order to be loved by others, the more you let go of that, the need for their approval, and start to give yourself your own approval. You're not going to turn into a monster. You're not going to turn into a lazy person that lays in bed all day. You're not. You're going to become an actual responsible adult who knows you're the source. And then you are going to become creative. You're going to reject society in a lot of ways. And that's okay. Okay? But this is what this is. Integration of the parts of yourselves you have rejected and overemphasized so that they can both come out of the shadow into the light of consciousness, united together, masculine, feminine, victor, victim, come together so that you become whole. Your vessel becomes less holy. You can accept more information, learn, grow, change, evolve, and expand. You are the source. Heaven is within. You create heaven on earth by being creative iteration of it, unified with the universal laws, in alignment with your relative, what you're here to create within it. That's what this is. Okay? So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave those down below. Like, share, subscribe. Let go of the aggregate accepting you. You accept yourself. And that's what it is.